that they would have learned from last year's mistakes, and be able to move forward, but they just didn't. I mean, we thought DeAndre Ayton was going to be a massive part of the series, and this guy was nullified to like a Rudy Gobert role. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, May 17th edition of the TV on Basketball Podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as TikTok for updates on the podcast and for other great content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. For all my podcast listeners, remember to leave a review and subscribe if you're on Apple. And that's from Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean listeners. Just show your support in any way possible. That would be highly, highly appreciated. It's been a week since I made a podcast episode, but I'm here today. Going to be recapping the rest of the second round, which I didn't get to talk about because I didn't have a show on Friday. And we're going to be previewing the next series as well because the round 2 is over. We're going to be giving the grades to giving some season grades to the teams that got eliminated. And at the end, we're going to be having a little bit of a NBA draft lottery simulator because tonight is the NBA draft lottery. Let's see how close our little simulation goes. But yeah, it's going to be an action-packed episode. Again, thank you guys for all the support. Even though I've been kind of inconsistent with the uploads, it's been kind of in and out for me, like trying to make content. But conference finals, NBA finals, there's a lot to talk about, and I cannot wait to just keep discussing with you guys because there's been a lot to talk about. And man, there is just so much to get into today. So I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. Let's just get right into this because we're going to start off for me, which is probably I would say the most shocking result from the second round. And that would be the Mavericks taking down the Phoenix Suns 4-3 in the series. Game 7 was honestly the last two games. The last two games were just an absolute beating from the Suns to by the Dallas Mavericks to the Phoenix Suns. And yeah, the defending Western Conference finalists have been eliminated by Luka Doncic, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jalen Brunson. Like, honestly, this is probably the most shocking result. I think many people had the Suns winning in 6 or 7. We kind of respected the Mavericks, especially the way they were able to dismantle the Utah Jazz. But the way they were able to go into Phoenix and just completely annihilate them in the fashion that they did was like amazing. Like, I wouldn't say amazing to watch, but just shocking. Absolutely shocking. And I want to give the Mavericks their flowers. I will give them their flowers. But we got to start with with the Phoenix Suns. We have to. I mean, they were the best team in the league by almost 10 games. I think the second place team was like 56 wins, while the Suns had 64 wins. But everything in these last two games I saw, I mean, the Suns were able to pull out the Game 5 win. I think in convincing fashion as well. None of these games really went to crunch time where it was like super close, any of them. Because Game 5, the Suns absolutely obliterated the Dallas Mavericks. But in the final two games, they lost by a combined 60 points. 60 points. And Game 7 especially, when the series is on the line, their season was on the line, you expected them, with the experience they had last year, they knew how to come up clutch in these situations. But they just absolutely didn't. They really did. They really did it. I mean, the play that they had in the regular season, they were one of the best defensive teams in the league, one of the best offensive teams in the league. They had good depth, like especially coming from with their center position. You got great minutes from JaVale Bismack-Biyombo. You had Cam Payne, who was regarded as one of the best backup point guards in the league last year. All those factors that really helped them in the regular season, didn't produce. They just didn't. And even more than that, what really set them off in the series and what really kind of deterred them the other way in a way which we didn't think would happen, was that the stars didn't produce. I can talk about Devin Booker, where in the final game, this guy didn't hit a field goal, and I think until the second half or very late into the first half. DeAndre Ayton only playing 17 minutes, which we'll get into in the season grades. But it really just comes down to Chris Paul. because the day before he turned 37, this guy, I believe it was game 2. This guy had a fantastic performance, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and that led the Phoenix Suns to a blowout victory versus the Dallas Mavericks. Ever since then, ever since then, Chris Paul just, I don't know what happened to him. It felt like he just lost his powers because in the final 5 games of the series, he averaged like 9 points a game, not many shot attempts. This guy just did not look aggressive at all. This guy was not looking for a shot. Something was bothering him, and I know there's like this little thing about him, oh, he had like that hamstring injury or something like that. I feel like it's fitting that that these reports come out after the series, after they lost, after Chris Paul put up 5 absolutely stinkers of a game. But I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna be like the doctor here. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But I'll just say it's poor timing on the Suns' behalf for the reports to come out. I mean, he didn't make any excuses in the post game, but at the end of the day, again, that was just a weird time to do the reporting. But the Phoenix Suns, man, I had them going to the finals this year. I saw the way they were playing in the regular season, and honestly, the way they were able to take care of business against the Pelicans. I knew the Pelicans put up a fight. Maybe them winning in 6 was kind of a precursor to this, but you just thought the way they were able to get through the playoffs last year, the way that Chris Paul has been playing at an All NBA level, standing with Devin Booker this year, that they would have learned from last year's mistakes, and be able to move forward, but they just didn't. I mean, we thought DeAndre Ayton was going to be a massive part of the series, and this guy was nullified to like a Rudy Gobert role, which the Mavs took advantage in round 1, and they were able to take advantage of it in round 2. I mean, they just kept spreading out the Phoenix Suns, taking DeAndre Ayton away from the paint, and it was just 3-point shot after 3-point shot after 3-point shot. Because let's be honest, everyone on that Mavs team can shoot, like in the rotation, barring maybe Dwight Powell, who can't shoot, and at times they were playing Frank Ntilikina, but they were just exposing the Suns on the defensive end and holding this very good offense to under 100 points in 3 of the 4 wins. Highly, highly impressive. But as for the Phoenix Suns, what it really comes down to is that the stars just didn't produce. Mostly due to Chris Paul. Maybe it's not the best thing to have like a 37-year-old aging point guard be like relying on him to be kind of your closer every single game, and I think that really caught up to him. But at the end of the day, the Suns really should have had the series. They really should have, but they let the Mavs stick around. They had a chance to close it out in Game 6. They came out with poor effort, and you just thought it would change in Game 7, but it just didn't. And watching this game, seeing the score be 77, I think it was like 57 to 27 in the Game 7. Luka Doncic scoring 27 points, which matched the entire Suns team in the first half. That was an experience. That was just an experience, and you can just see like in the crowd, like they want to get into it, but the Suns gave them no reason to. And that's unfortunate because they had, again, such a good regular season. We had so much expectation of them going to the playoffs, and they lost in epic fashion, as Chris Paul has known far too many times, like has been through too many times. Highly, highly disappointing performance. And I mean, looking at the Mavs now, Luka is all world. Luka averaged, like I think, like going into the series, he's been, I think, in total 3 Game 7s. We knew he was going to produce. He averaged almost 40 points a game in those 3 Game 7s. And in this game, he probably would have got to 40. But the game was over by halftime, maybe even by the second quarter. I mean, it didn't matter whether Luka Doncic played in the second half because they just completely sucked the life out of that Phoenix Suns team. And what I saw in the series from the Dallas Mavericks was their 3-point shooting, the way they're able to get contribution from people like Dinwiddie, especially in Game 7 where he scored 21 points in the first half. He was absolutely phenomenal. Brunson gave him some good games in this series. Dorian Finney-Smith had that one game where he hit 8 threes. Reggie Bullock in the last game hitting like a few timely threes, leading to 18 points. As long as Luka gets one more big contributor along with him, they're able to win games, and as shown here, they could beat the best team in basketball. And their way of just getting threes up, like, threes are better than twos. They really have been driving that point home this entire year, this entire playoffs, and it's working. And it has been working, and they were able to take down the Phoenix Suns. Their defense as well, watching it throughout the series, especially in that Game 7. Phoenix were getting shots off, but it felt like every single time that they wanted to get to their stars, the Mavs were disciplined, they were staying on their feet, and they just made the right play, making it every shot difficult for the Phoenix Suns. And at the end of the day, I underestimated this team. I thought that there wasn't enough help along Luka Doncic. We knew he was going to perform. I think he finished the series like averaging 34 points a game. We knew he was going to show up. But seeing that, like, the games where he just got a contribution from just one other player, they just needed another player, to give him like a 20-point, 25-point outing, and they were able to pull out the win. Highly, highly impressed with them, especially on the defensive end. Them Luka being able to find a balance between getting shots for himself and getting others involved throughout the series. Again, you had like 4 guys in each of these wins be able to make a huge, huge difference. And they're able to get the win. It's absolutely fantastic to see. Luka won his first playoff series in the NBA this season, of course, in the first round versus the Utah Jazz. And now he's won 2, and one of them was against the team with the best record in basketball. We've seen him do this. We've seen him do this before, ever since he was a teenager in the EuroLeague, and now it's finally transitioning to the NBA. This guy could arguably be a top 3, top 5 player in the league right now, wherever you want to put him. But that performance was just absolutely breathtaking. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to to the Dallas Mavericks. Phoenix Suns have a lot of questions this offseason. Again, we're going to be getting into that in the season gradings. But great win for Dallas. Now moving on to this next series. And the thing about this series, what was disappointing about the Suns in Game 7 was that it just looked like they just felt like once they got down like big in that first run, it just felt like there was no coming back for them. When we're talking about the Celtics-Bucks series, especially in that Game 7, the Bucks got annihilated. The Bucks 100% got annihilated by the Boston Celtics. But you could tell that they just didn't want to lie down, but it was just a horrible game from the Bucks in general. Because the Boston Celtics eliminated the defending champions, beating them 4-3. And honestly, I'm just very impressed from the Boston Celtics and the way that they were able to handle adversity throughout many points in the series, and they're able to bounce back and actually defeat the defending champions. Barring there was no Chris Middleton in the series, but still highly impressive nonetheless. When looking at the Boston Celtics, again, looking at the Dallas Mavericks, I talked about how Luka Doncic, he always had a great game, and as long as he had a second guy, helping contribute in a big way, or like a 20, 25-point outing, they were able to get the win. As for the Celtics, each of their key players had a rough patch in this series. You remember Jason Tatum going 4 for 17, having only 10 points in a game. Jaylen Brown, there were some games where he kind of was non-existent. But there was always that, in each of their wins, there was always that one big game performer. Jaylen Brown in the first game, in game 1, I think had like 30. In game 2, had like 30 points. In game 4, in game 4, when they were down 2-1, who was the one that stepped up? Al Horford and Jason Tatum. It was the Al Horford game. People are gonna remember it for that. Game 6, you got Jason Tatum scoring 46 points in the game, going shot for shot with Giannis and being able to win that matchup. And then in Game 7, when the Bucks' game plan was to just let the Celtics shoot threes, especially Grant Williams, he made him pay 7 threes in that game, tying a Game 7 record 7 threes. Grant Williams. And what was crazy is that each of these guys had massive games in this series, which all contributed to wins. But in terms of just the whole series in general, it's gonna come as this is gonna come to the shock of no one. Threes were the biggest difference. Boston hit 54 more threes than the Bucks in the series. I will repeat that. The Celtics hit 54 more threes in the series than the Bucks. And that was honestly the case in Game 4 once again. In Game 7, the Bucks went 4 for 33 on threes, 12%, while Boston shot 40% from 3, 22 threes in total. Just that was the biggest difference in the series. And honestly, I mean, I had the Bucks winning in 7 just because I thought Giannis, I think Giannis would just like kind of carry them over the line, and honestly, he almost did. But you could just tell by the end of the series, Giannis has just done so much for this team that he just couldn't give any more, and the Boston Celtics took advantage of it. They had great depth this entire series. I mean, what sucked for them was that Robert Williams was in and out of the lineup, but they got contributions from Payne Pritchard, good minutes from Daniel Tice, Derek White. You had them get like good minutes here and there from different players on their bench, which helped them which helped them beat the Bucks in the series. And the series could have finished earlier on, especially because of the amount of times that they were in close games, and the Celtics kind of lost on those late possessions. But when it came to putting their foot down, when it came to them being focused and being able to take care of the Bucks, they were able to do so with their depth, with their star talent of both Tatum and Brown. They just were able to fight off all this adversity, being down in the series multiple times, and able to come up with a W. They always had a response, and that was really, really impressive. And again, I mean, I talked about Jason Tatum. This guy went shot for shot with Giannis in Game 6. That was amazing to watch, and you could just tell that his superstardom is just growing and growing and growing. And it's just absolutely fantastic to see him go into this player, being able to lead his team to the conference finals for the third or fourth time in his career. Absolutely crazy, and again, their defense, being able to, I want to say slow down Giannis. I mean, you couldn't completely shut him down. He still had a phenomenal stat line to finish off the series, but they did their thing trying to slow him down, and honestly, it worked a lot of times with the help of Grant Williams, Al Horford, and just completely shutting down that whole Bucks offense in the second half. Because look, in Game 7, the first half was close. They started pulling away at the end there, but it was still like in striking distance for the Milwaukee Bucks. But in the second half, Boston just completely shut the door and then allowed this Bucks team to breathe. Again, highly impressive performance for them. As for the Bucks, look, I mean, like I said, I had Bucks in 7 just because of the Giannis factor, and honestly, that was almost enough. Giannis was playing absolutely fantastic in the first half of Game 7, but you could just tell, like in the second half, this guy was missing shots that he usually makes. This guy was getting in his own head. I mean, he just looked gassed. He just looked gassed because at the end of the day, we call him the Greek freak, but this guy was like, an absolute freak of nature, an unreal athlete. But he can only do so much, and it caught up to him in Game 7. He tried doing everything, and at the end of the day, he just couldn't. Especially against a talented team with the Boston Celtics having multiple scoring options for them, the Bucks didn't really have that luxury, especially with no Chris Middleton in that lineup, and it hurt them. And you could see it, especially in their 3-point shooting. Like I said, they hit 54 less threes. And their late game offense, which they should have really got more of these games here against Boston. They would have pulled it out, honestly, I believe, if Chris Middleton was in that lineup. Drew Holiday tried. He averaged 20 points in this series, but you could tell that him being a number 2 scoring option does take a toll on him, and he really isn't, meant for that role. He could be their primary defender, their best perimeter defender, be a great third scoring option, but as a number 2, he clearly couldn't really. He did his thing, but he could really take his game to that next level to make up for the Middleton absence. But, all I can say is that the Bucks, did their thing. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. The Celtics were one of the best teams in the year 2022, but they just didn't have missing Chris Middleton really hurt. Giannis did his thing, but there just wasn't enough help from the guys around him. Brook Lopez had some, had a decent performance in the first half of Game 7. He was kind of not there for the remaining of the series. Grayson Allen, who averaged 15 points a game in the Bulls series, was completely non-existent here in this series, averaging only 5 points a game. And look, they've been, just using the same tactic every single series, every single game, and Coach Bud allows these teams to shoot threes. And if you're gonna beat us with the 3. We're not letting anything inside. And we could see it works. It works towards getting them to a championship. It worked for them mostly in the regular season, and it worked for them in the first round. But in this series, the Celtics were able to shoot those threes, and it really bit them in the back, because in games like Game 7 and a lot of these series where they just got completely outclassed from the 3-point line, there's just like once they're starting hitting them, it's hard to come back, especially when you're trying when your guys can't hit threes whatsoever. It's a risk that the Bucks take every night, and they know the consequences of it, and they lived with it, plain and simple. It was an admirable effort, but the Celtics team was just too good, too deep, and they were able to pull out the win. So congratulations to them. Great series from the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, we're going to talk about them a bit more in the season gradings and what they should do next. But congratulations to the Celtics. They're going on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Moving on to the next series that I want to discuss, moving away from the Game 7s, we're going to talk about the Warriors versus Grizzlies in a series where the Golden State Warriors were able to pull it out 4-2. And I have to be honest, when looking at this series, both teams didn't play particularly well. There was no like instance in any of these games where I felt like, they played absolutely perfect. I mean, maybe the Grizzlies in Game 5, maybe the Warriors in Game 3. But for the most part, there was like a lot of mistakes happening. There's a lot of sloppy basketball, and there was just a lot of sloppy victories. But the Warriors, with their experience, with the star power of Steph, Clay, Dre, Jordan Poole, and all that, they were able to pull it out. Because they didn't play great, and besides that one loss, you could just tell they were the experienced team. Each player had their moments. Steph Curry probably was the best player in the series, but you could say that he kind of underperformed for his standards. But they were able to pull out the win, and that's really all that matters. And honestly, just looking at Game 6, people were looking like, you know what, we're gonna get Game 6 Clay. We're gonna get a great performance from him, and he did not disappoint. 30 points, 11 for 22 shooting. He really came out big there. And him and Steph absolutely dominated that fourth quarter. Steph finished with 29, and they were able to seal the series because of that. They did a good job not letting this get to 7 because, as seen in like Game 7s across the league, anything can happen. Look at the Dallas Mavericks series, and good for them for not letting it get to that point, putting down the Grizzlies while they had the opportunity. This looking at like the other teams in the league, we're talking about the Celtics, we're talking about the Mavs being able to hit their threes. When you think of the Golden State Warriors, they hit a lot of threes, but they weren't really able to do so in this series. It wasn't as consistent. But it's nice to know that even though Gary Payton went out with injury, a key rotation piece, they were still able to do well on the defensive end and just have like different contributors when their offense was kind of stalling. Otto Porter had some key moments in this series. Andrew Wiggins averaging like 17 points in this series. Like that offense was absolutely key for them. And when it came down late, when they needed to hit shots, they were able to. And the Warriors were able to pull out the win, even though they didn't play at their best. As for the Grizzlies, they fought admirably. I mean, John Morant went out after Game 3, and you could say in like different parts of the series, especially in Game 1, especially in Game 4, they had the chance to win it, but their inexperience showed, their lack of shot making showed, and they lost control of those two games, which maybe could have really tilted the series in their favor. But the Warriors were able to pull it out. They showed their experience once again, and the Grizzlies, even though like they had their chances, they just weren't able to execute. The jaw injury really showed, especially in Game 4, like that they couldn't get offense down the stretch. And maybe if he was in the lineup, it would have been different. But at the same time, the Grizzlies, again, you gotta take advantage of those chances. They were there for you, especially Game 4. I think Game 4 was the one that they absolutely hate to lose, especially because they were up by like 3 point, like they were up with like 40 seconds, a minute, 40 seconds left, and they just lost it. They just completely lost it. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's a great season for them nonetheless. They were able to like take this Warriors team to 6 games, and people thought it was gonna be finishing like 4 or 5, especially with the way the Warriors were dominating early. But they're able to bounce back. Again, great performances from John Morant, especially in that Game 2. You got to see some good performances from Triple J, Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks. They all tried to give their best effort, but again, it just wasn't enough. I do want to say, though, at least like in the final home game in Game 5, the way that they were able to dismantle the Warriors, like winning, like having a lead like up to like 55 points, was absolutely crazy. So it was a great way to kind of end their, to like send their fans home happy. But the Warriors just outmatched them. Again, great effort from them. You could see that this team's really has a few more years together. That this team could really go places even further than what they did this year. But the Warriors are just had the experience advantage and they're able to take advantage. And the Grizzlies weren't able to clean up their mistakes. I'm going to talk about them more in the season review, but congratulations to the Warriors. They played a great game, played a great series. And the Grizzlies, they fought great. They really did fight, but they just weren't able to pull it off. Hopefully, we get to see them next year and the years coming continue to build as a unit and maybe, get better from the 3 point line. Get, find more consistency in the playoffs because once they can figure that out, this team could be absolutely dangerous as shown this year. Because, like I said, they had chances to win it. If they cannot clean those up, it would be a different series. But the Warriors, man, the Warriors are the Warriors, and they were able to pull this off. Final series, again, this one shouldn't go too long. We're going to talk about the Heat defeating the 76ers 4-2 in the series. And where I left you off in the last one was that the 76ers bounced back, made it 2-2. The Joel Embiid effect was real. And I talked about how as long as, he opens up the floor for people and as long as the others are able to contribute, the 76ers had a chance. Well, in those final 2 games, they got absolutely smacked. And you could just tell that the Heat were just clearly the better team. You could tell Embiid was hurt, but the Heat weren't gonna let these 76ers have a chance after having the series tied up at 2-2. The Heat stayed focused and they're able to pull out these wins, and they were able to finally get around the offensive end, so this wouldn't go to 7 games or it wouldn't give the Sixers any type of hope. Because the Heat basically just flexed their muscles. They were great on the defensive end. They didn't allow the 76ers to get going offensively, especially, having James Harden completely out of the game, Tobias Harris out of the game, and then you're relying on Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, where Joel Embiid was just, coming off multiple injuries, and you're asking him to do too much, and you're asking him to do a lot for someone who's injured. And really, no one else in the 76ers could really help out. While on the Heat side of things, you got Jimmy Butler playing well. And then you got contributions from the Bams of the world, the heroes. Max Strus was absolutely key in these final 2 games. And that just really just shows the difference between these 2 teams. You got their role players and the guys around Jimmy being able to come up when they need him the most. While on the 76ers, even their second star wasn't able to perform. Talking more about the Heat, you got Kyle Lowry being out these last 2 games because of the hamstring injury. And honestly, that helped him a lot because in the 2 games that he did play in Game 3 and 4, he did not look right at all. And I think he was being more of a detriment to the team than actually helping them. I love the guy. I love the way he was fighting. But him, resting that hamstring, I mean, he's going to be missing Game 1 tonight as well. But him wrenching it up, actually being able to play, being able to be at a point where he can actually, feel better and play better, I think that would be just best for the team. Besides that, they were able to hit shots. They were locked in the defensive end. And honestly, I said this all year long. Their team is built for the playoffs. Their team is built for long runs. And we've seen that in the bubble in 2020. I think they're able to do the same, have an opportunity at the ship this year. They still had their Miami offensive lulls here and there, but again, the 76ers did not provide much resistance, and they were able just to still pull out these games. I talk about the depth more. Oladipo stepped into the place of Larry when he was out, and he was absolutely fit, and he provided great minutes. And again, I mean, this Heat team before the season, I was talking about how I'm worried about the depth of this team. Bar the top 7 guys, I wasn't sure about the rest, but they've proven me wrong. They have a bunch of depth on that team, and they're honestly fully equipped to make another finals run for sure. As for the 76ers, Embiid did all he could. He played the hardest out of everyone on that team, and to be truthful, no one else really stepped up to the plate in those final 2 games. Maxey played well. Harris had played good in the first 2 games. But really comes down to, and what everyone is talking about right now, is that Harden is just not the same Harden. Embiid said after the game, along with other stuff, saying, "Man, I miss playing with Jimmy Butler," praising a lot of other guys around the league, which I'll give my quick thoughts on that afterwards. But him saying that we're not going to see Houston Harden anymore. Although I don't think he should have thrown him under the bus, he's right. He isn't. He's just not going to be that guy anymore. I mean, besides that Game 4 win where he scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, like where we saw, like, you know, moments of the old Harden. It just wasn't there like in game. It wasn't there for the remainder of the series. I mean, in Game 6 where they were just Game 5 where they're absolutely dominated, scored 14 points on 13 shots, and then in the last game he finished off with 12 points, played 43 minutes. Sorry, 11 points, played 42 minutes, and only attempted 2 shots in the second half. What? The former scoring champion, the former MVP, like not wanting to take shots. Just it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then when you look back on this trade, the 76ers, they said they were holding out for Ben Simmons to trade for an All-NBA caliber player and someone like a true secondary star for Embiid, which at the time we thought it was happening with James Harden. But clearly, he wasn't ready to play. And in these playoffs, again, another highly disappointing performance, because the best way to put his Game 6 performance for me was pathetic. It was just like a pathetic showing, and honestly, I was just disappointed that Embiid was really trying his best. He really wanted to take the team over the line, and there's just no one else to help him, really. And again, I'm going to talk about them a bit more in the season gradings and stuff like that. There's a lot of questions with this team, but them going on the second round, I think it's fine, but it's just the way that they went out. It's just not good, and really something has to change. Really does. I thought that they should have put up a bigger fight still, even with Joel Embiid not being 100%. But the other guys really did step up, and they didn't. Compared to the Heat guys, it's just night and day with these two supporting casts. I mean, it was just like a horrible showing in Game 6. Let's see what they're going to do the offseason, but there's definitely a lot of question marks I have to address. Two more things we move on to the season grades. Embiid kind of ripping the entire team. Harden kind of ripping Doc Rivers for the play calling. Again, the 76ers feel like every single year they don't want to hold accountability for themselves. They're always kind of pointing fingers, this and that. And it's just like, I just don't think it's a great culture to set. Embiid really should be the leader. And although he played through injury and stuff, he really should be like, it's on me. I should have had our guys more ready. I should have been like more of a monster, this type of stuff. I wish I heard that more. But I think it's just the culture around like this Philly team. And just, Harden saying the same stuff. Doc Rivers blaming, talking about everyone else except, besides himself. It's just not a good environment to have, and that's what kind of, I think, is really, preventing them from taking themselves to the next level, because they need humility. They need to look at themselves and be like, we need to play better. Not, me looking at some other guy or this and that. They have to play better, and I think that really needs to change within their culture. 76ers fans, let me know down below. Is this it feels like a regular thing, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's something I saw. And yeah, Danny Green as well. He got injured after 3 minutes in Game 6. Turned out he has a torn ACL, which at someone at 35 years of age, I don't know. That's basically a year of recovery. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back. Maybe he's going to retire. Who knows? But hopefully for him, get well soon. Yeah, final thoughts. Great win for the Heat. They showed that this team was ready for the conference finals clearly, and the 76ers were just not. And yeah, they were just not. Moving on to the next part of this episode, we're going to be giving out my season grades for each of the teams that got eliminated. Hopefully this doesn't go too long, because after this we're going to be going into the series predictions. But yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to go in the order of the way I talked about the series. Starting off with the Phoenix Suns, if I had to give them a grade on the series, on the season, I would have to give it a B-. I would have to. Regular season was dominant, fantastic, showed just great poise on both ends of the floor. And they were one of the best, offensive teams in the fourth quarter. They had 2 of the best clutch scores in the league. It was great. But just the way they went out really hurt their grade. They were finals contenders, and that whole second round, you're looking at the team and you're like, this isn't the team I saw all season long. This really isn't, and all the things that made them exceptional during the regular season just didn't happen. Just didn't show up. um, in the in the postseason, especially in that second round. So great year from Devin Booker, great year for Chris Paul. They both probably will make All NBA teams. Aiden, again, I'm waiting for that next step to happen with this guy, but it just has not happened yet. And that's really the biggest question mark they have going into the offseason. Like, what do they do with him? Because he's going to be a restricted free agent this summer. You didn't give him the 5-year extension, which he was asking for last offseason. And honestly, this season, he didn't do himself any favors in trying to improve his chances at that. But what are they supposed to do? There's not like any really other centers on the market right now. And you have someone here who you drafted number one overall 4 years ago. And you got to bring him back. I have a feeling you're at that point where you kind of have to bring him back. Maybe there's a sign and trade that works, but we'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, like I believe that he should sign. Like the Suns need to retain his rights because the only way they're really gonna be able to like grow from this is being able to develop that partnership between him and Booker, Chris Paul, all of the guys. Because I still truly believe that this is the finals contender, but you just need a bit more from like each of the guys, especially in the second round, to be able to win the series, and they didn't. So hopefully some more time together. Hopefully maybe developing a better pick and roll between him and Booker, him working on his post game to kind of be more efficient on the offensive end, that type of stuff. Like the moves they really have to make are like having some growth within the team, and that's really how the Suns are gonna get better. But in terms of this season, a B- for me. Um, I just wish it was there's them going down the seventh game and fighting and like keeping it close, but they lost to Luka because Luka was just too good. But just the effort, especially like I said, in those last two games, losing by a combined 60 points, appalling. It's just absolutely appalling. And honestly, just the way the way they went out really brought down this grade for me. And besides that, I know one more thing I want to mention before I move on to the next team. Another way that they can really improve their team is becoming more versatile because it feels like they can only play lineups where they have a big on the floor. They don't have really a great small ball lineup. Maybe again that gets better when Darius Hart returns from his injury. But at the same time, yeah, they just got to get more versatile, have different sort of lineups out there to throw other teams off guard. But yeah, final game for the Phoenix Suns this season, B-. Moving on to the next team, and we're going to be talking about the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. For the season, I would say that I would give them a grade of B. Gave them slightly higher because of the way that they were able to fight in the series against the Boston Celtics. Like at least with the Phoenix Suns, like in the games they lost, they just got completely obliterated. The Bucks fought in almost every game of the series, I think, besides game 2, and even in game 5, I know it was game 7. I know it was a massive deficit. But they were fighting. They really were. But they just couldn't get the offense going. Giannis, another MVP level season as he's shown over the last 4 years. Another All Star selection for Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday being great all season long as well. And I think for me, obviously they were finals contenders. Technically a second round exit is kind of disappointing, but the Chris Middleton injury really hurt them in there. And when you're facing off a team against, again, as hot as Boston, the way they were able to dismantle the Nets and just completely dominate 2022, it happens. It absolutely happens. And, it's just like tough to win in those situations. And the Bucks found it the hard way, leaning on Giannis the entire series. It's just not going to work. He just needs a bit more help. Hopefully Chris Middleton can be healthy for next year. And hopefully he can have another long playoff run. In terms of the Bucks this offseason, they just need to get more shot creators. I mean, a lot of the guys, especially at the guard positions, and Wesley Matthews, George Hill, a bit older. I mean, George Hill used to be a lot better, especially in his Indiana days, at creating his own shot. Really can't do that at this age right now. They just need to get kind of more of those type of guys, more of people who can really fulfill the 6-man role and create his own shot. And besides that, honestly, they just don't really have to change much. You still got Giannis, your number one guy. You got your big 3 there, and Drew and Chris Middleton as well. I don't know what you're gonna do with the Brook Lopez situation. I think he's a free agent either after next season or this season. But I think this Bucks team next season it's gonna be looking very similar to how they've looked the last couple years. I think it's gonna be I think they're gonna come back in a massive way next year. But in terms of their grade right now, they gotta finish with a B, 100%. Next up, we're gonna be talking about the 76ers. Actually, I said I was gonna go in order from the way I was talking about it earlier, but I guess not. I'm gonna talk about the 76ers, and for me, the grade for the season is a C plus. Is a C plus. I know like it would have been kind of higher. Maybe like I'm a bit too harsh. Maybe I would give them like a B minus B, especially because of the amount of Ben Simmons doors they had to deal with for the first half of the season. And I really do applaud that they were still able to be a top four seed in the East. And honestly, a lot of this grade has to do with like Embiid's MVP caliber season, finishing as the runner up once again. But what really brings this grade down was the way they went out of the playoffs, and also just the trade for James Harden and the way that he's looked since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. The results were awful. The results are awful. It feels like for both teams at the moment because Ben Simmons didn't even play a game for the Brooklyn Nets this year, and they got swept in the first round. Here, James Harden just did not look like the guy that the 76ers traded, multiple first round picks for a key shooter in Seth Curry, a serviceable big man in Andre Drummond. They gave away a lot of their depth to hopefully get, Houston Rockets, even like last year before the hamstring injury, James Harden, and they just weren't able to get that. His future is a huge question mark as well because he has a player option this year for $47 million. It's either he declines that and takes the long-term deal from the 76ers, which I think that they're very hesitant to do right now, or he accepts a player option next year, which I think would be kind of ideal for the 76ers, and just kind of like gauge how good he is like after with a full season with the team. I would say that he will do the Chris Paul thing and decline a player option in hopes of signing a long term deal. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he just takes the 47 million because he maybe knows his body, he knows himself well. Who knows? But I think that I think he's gonna decline his player option. I really do. But I think if I'm the 76ers and their fans, I'm hoping that he does accept the player option. Besides that, keep Tyrese Maxey around. Hopefully he can grow with Embiid. Maybe he becomes even like takes himself to the whole new level next year. Who knows? But they gotta trade Tobias Harris. I don't know what to get in return for him, but man, that contract that he gave him, that you gave him, is looking real bad, especially because of what Jimmy Butler is giving to the Miami Heat these last few years. Yeah, it's looking really tough. And I mean, Jimmy Butler going back to the locker room saying, Tobias Harris over me? Tobias Harris over me? Basically, that for the Philadelphia for the 76ers. They got to get rid of him. I don't know what they're going to be able to get back. But they really just got to, make changes here and there. And besides that, I mean, what are they going to do with Doc Rivers? They're more said that he's gonna come back next season, but I'm not sure if I would do that if I'm the 76ers because you saw the way that he exited the last two playoffs. You've seen his history with the Clippers, with teams like the Magic and stuff like that. He doesn't have as good of a track record as we think he does, and I just think that they just need to kind of have some sort of significant change, and especially if you're gonna keep Harden around. Maybe a different voice, maybe someone who could be more versatile would help this team a lot. But honestly, if I'm a 76er fan and a lot looks the same, Toby is still here, Harden, Embiid, and Doc Rivers are still around next year, I wouldn't be happy. So they got to make some changes 100%. What they're going to be able to get back, I'm not sure, but they definitely need to make some changes. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, and if I had to give a grade for them this season, much higher than the rest of these guys, I got to give them an A. Most had them as a play-in guarantee. I thought I was being bold by giving them the 6th seed in the West, but they even blew my expectations out the water. Massive season for John Morant, winning Most Improved Player. Desmond Bane showed out to be one of the better young players in the league, only in the second season, which is absolutely fantastic. Triple J bounced back after an injury-riddled year, and you can just see just the depth of this team. They just have a lot of good guys being able to contribute, and Anthony Melton, Tyus Jones, Kyle Anderson, the rookie Zaire Williams, Steven Adams. I can go on and on with this team just because they're deep. They're able to get contributions from so many people, and they're able to translate that into wins this year, and also, making it a fight against the Golden State Warriors, being this close to the Western Conference Finals. So it's just a big W of a season. For me, I wouldn't make many changes to this team. You just gotta hope as a Grizzly fan, as a Grizzlies organization, that the growth comes from within. You have players like John Morant getting better. You have players like Jaren Jackson taking the game to a whole new level. Same thing with Desmond Bain, Zaire Williams, all that good stuff. If you can get the growth from within, I think that is key the key to them winning this one. That is the absolute key, and I believe that they're able to do so. And I'm just excited to see what this team has in the future because honestly, they're um, they were such a young team to watch this year, such a fun team. I mean, and as you know, if they could stay healthy, if John Moran can continue to like grow as a player, become better and better each and every year, this guy could be the face of the league soon. And you have that along with a good supporting cast. Honestly, just by drafting, just absolutely crazy. And I think that the Grizzlies are able to do so. They have a great coach. They have a great organization. Their GM won Executive of the Year. There's a lot to be excited for if you're a Grizzlies fan. And again, you can make the case from the season, like if Ja was healthy, it could have been different in the Warriors series. But we'll never know. But great season for the Grizzlies. I have really nothing bad to say about them. Maybe it would have been A+ if they made the conference finals. Who knows? But an A for me is greatly sufficient for them. They had a phenomenal season, and I'm excited to see what they get to do next. But yeah, those are all my grades for all the teams that just got eliminated. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree, and also give me your grades for their season. Give me some reasons why and all that. I'm willing to discuss in the comment section below. Throughout this entire episode, I've been looking back at the series, looking back at the seasons of these guys that got eliminated. But it's time to look forward. And we're going to be looking forward to the conference finals in the East and the West. And I'm going to be giving my predictions on the series. Where should I start? Should I go in the West? Should I go in the East? I am going to start off in the West. And we're going to be talking about the Warriors versus the Dallas Mavericks, the 3rd seed versus the 4th seed. And honestly, the keys to the series for both these teams is who's like the 3-point shot. And I think I'm going to talk about that a lot. I've been talking about it a lot in the series, like when reviewing the series. And you're going to hear this a lot when I'm previewing these two series because this Mavs team likes to get off a lot of threes. And as for the Warriors, like their key is really like how do they want to deal with Luka Doncic? Do you want to play one-on-one with him, let him get his because he's definitely going to get his no matter what? Or are you going to try and double team him, get the ball in his hands, and let the others beat you? What we've seen from that plan with, trying to double Luka and all that, these guys are willing to shoot threes. And once they get hot real quick, and the game can get out of reach. So honestly, if I'm the Warriors, play Luka Doncic straight up, and just make sure that you get out to those shooters because that is when the Mavericks are at their most dangerous. Because again, Luka's going to average his 30 to 35 points per game. If you can, nullify Jalen Brunson, nullify Finney Smith, like have him not be able to like get some room on those 3-point shots. That's gonna be absolutely key in the series. Another key to the series for both teams is the who's gonna win the rebounding battle. Because what was surprising to me in that Warriors Grizzlies series is that the Grizzlies, one of the best rebounding teams in the league, I thought that was gonna be a big plus for them in this series, and they only won the rebound battle 1 out of the 6 games. But now the Warriors are facing a Dallas Mavericks team who rebound by committee, one of the best rebounding teams in the playoffs. I think they were dominating the boards a lot in that in the Phoenix Suns series. Now they got to deal with that, and I'm not sure how much they're gonna play Kevon Looney in the series, who had 22 rebounds in that Game 6 win. But controlling the board is gonna be absolutely key in this series for both teams. If the Mavs can do that, get their second chance opportunities, being able to kick out to their shooters, again, that would be key. And a lot of these series, come down like who has the best player. In the last series, Luka was the best player, but there were some times, especially after those first 2 games, I made the argument saying, look, the Suns had like 2-8, 2-7 of the best players in that series. But even still, I mean, that kind of dwindled for them, and the Mavericks start to get better, so that was key for them. But who's going to be the best player in this series? Is it going to be Steph? Is it going to be Luka? Who knows? Because people still want to say people could still have that argument that Steph is a top 5 player in the league. I have to rethink my list, but maybe he's still there. But Luka has been absolutely phenomenal in these playoffs, and also like going back to the second half of the season, he was just been absolutely fantastic. So you never know. I mean, if Luka is the best player in the series, the Mavericks definitely have a chance. But if there's something going to the Warriors' favor, I feel like that the shooting in that second round series versus the Grizzlies, I think that's going to turn around the series. Dallas is a very good defensive team, and I think that they're going to make it tough for them. But when you have shooters like Steph, Clay, Poole, who struggled a lot, who didn't shoot the three very well in the last series, I feel like they're due. I feel like they're due, and I think that they can definitely, if they can definitely hit their shots, that the Warriors can. It just takes them to a whole nother level, which could be really good for them in this series. I also think in this series, I think that the Warriors have a bit more depth in terms of like having shot creators, someone besides Luka. Like on the Maverick side of things, you got Dinwiddie, Brunson, and Luka. On the Warriors, you have Draymond that can create for him, create for others. You got Poole, you got Steph, you got different guys there. Actually, you know what? I just thought about it right now. Maybe it's a bit you go for both teams, but I just think that the Warriors still have a good depth advantage there. And if the but you know again if really the depth for the Mavericks really comes down to if their guys can hit threes. This series can go either way, and I think again if Luka could be the best player in the series consistently, and if you can get that one guy scoring 20 to 25 points along with him and have just like small contributions here and there, I think they have a chance to win the series. But the Warriors feel like this ticking time bomb where I feel like it hasn't detonated yet in the playoffs. I feel like it's just like waiting to explode. And I think that it's gonna happen this series. If I had to make an official prediction, and here it is, I'm gonna go Warriors in six. I'm gonna go Warriors in six. I think that Steph is gonna probably have the best series he's had throughout this entire playoffs. I think Clay is gonna not shoot horrendous from three consistently. Maybe we're not going to see a consistent game six Clay, but better shooting percentages, hopefully around 19 to 22 points per game. I think Poole plays a lot better in this game because a lot of the attention will go to Steph and Clay. I think he has a chance to really go off in the series, but I still believe that the series can go either way. I could definitely see a scenario where the Mavericks do what they did to the Phoenix Suns. You get some like slow games from like Steph, Clay, and Poole, and then you have the Mavericks hitting 23s in a game. I could definitely see that happening multiple times in this series. So I'm not discrediting the Mavericks. I still think that this is going to be really, really good, but they need Luka to be that guy every single game. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do so in this conference finals, especially if you have like you're going to throw multiple bodies at him with a Draymond Green, Otto Porter, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson. You can have many bodies on him. They're going to try, but as Luka's shown time and time again, it doesn't matter. And even against like one of the best defensive teams in the league in the Phoenix Suns, going up against a Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Chris Paul, all that, he still ate. And I think that it definitely could still be the case in this series. But I do believe the Warriors' experience, you have them knowing what it takes to get to the NBA Finals. I still think they're able to pull out the series. They're going to start hitting shots. They got to hit shots sooner rather than later, and I think that's going to happen in the series. Give me the Warriors to win in six. Let me know down below what you guys think. Agree or disagree. Moving on to this next series, we have the Boston Celtics taking on the Miami Heat, the 1-2 matchup. They did play 2 years ago in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Miami Heat were able to win in 6 games. But these are two completely different teams now. We have Bam, who's become a better player. You have Kyle Lowry, again, who's missing game 1, but he should be able to come back in the series. A Miami Heat, who is deeper. But the Celtics team, much better on the defensive end, a more refined Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and this team has a lot more depth. So this is definitely like a different series compared to that series 2 years ago. And again, threes are going to be absolutely massive in the series because both these teams like to attempt a lot of threes. And this feels like a same in every NBA game. If a team can hit more threes, they probably will win. And that showed a lot for the Boston Celtics in the series versus the Bucks. And it's the same thing with this Miami Heat team and the them versus the 76ers. Because if you remember, the 2 games that they lost, they were only able to hit 7 threes. If they can hit more than that, they were able to win the game. So again, 3 pointers are going to be absolutely key in the series. The battle between Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think both guys are going to average over 30 points in the series. But the key for both these teams, as well as the 3-point shots, is the players around them. Who's going to step up? Will Bam be able to take advantage of the Al Horford matchup? I know Al Horford did a good job on Giannis, but this is a different type of guy in Bam Adebayo who's going to be a lob threat, who's someone who's not going to be starting off from the 3-point line, trying to get to the rim. So I think that there's not many options for Boston to guard Bam Adebayo. Unless Robert Williams is back and healthy, I think that could be a key piece for them. But this is a deeper team than the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. The Celtics have to account for more players, so I think this is going to be definitely interesting for them. Expect a lot of low-scoring games in this one as well. I just think that both these teams are great defensively. Both the teams are probably gonna get down and dirty in the series. I could see a lot of games ranging from 95 points to 105 in that low-scoring range as well. But I really, again, another series where this is a coin flip. This is a coin flip, and I think both teams have proven throughout this entire playoffs that they have what it takes to be able to move on to the NBA Finals. But it really, again, really depends on the players around them because, Bam, Jaylen Brown, they're gonna produce. Jimmy, Jason Tatum, they're gonna produce. What about the other guys? Are we gonna get some more Max Strus games? Are we gonna get some more Grant Williams games? Are we gonna get another Al Horford game? Will Gabe Vincent maybe come out and have a big time performance? Maybe a Victor Oladipo and stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe there's a game where PJ Tucker hits 5 threes. That is definitely a possibility. There's going to be some random performances you're going to see in the series, and I am all for it. I love seeing those random performances like the Grant Williams going 7 for 18 at the 3-point line. I love seeing that type of stuff. This series could go either way. Like I said, it's a coin flip series, and I've been really debating back and forth. Where is this going to go? I think that for the Heat, in order for them to win the series, they really have to dictate the pace. And they've done so all season long. They like playing slow. They like getting Jimmy Butler, not on the block, but having those isolation situations. Him getting to the rim, dumping it off to a Bam, kicking it out for threes, operating in that mid-range area. Jimmy Butler has been so great at that. If you can get him involved, if you can get Bam involved in the lob game, get open shots for people Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, PJ Tucker, even Duncan Robinson. I think that he's going to be dusted off the series. I think he could play a big role if they need some more 3-point shots. And as for the Celtics, they gotta have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown performing a lot in both these games. I do feel like Jason Tatum, we have gone to the point where I could confidently say that he's going to give you your 27 to 35 points every single night. But Jaylen Brown has to be that legitimate second star, the person who's going to provide, 23, 24 points a game, and just be that completely difference maker because they're going to focus a lot on Tatum. Jaylen Brown is going to get some opportunities. He's going to have to be able to hit his shots. And they just have to hit threes in general. They got to, because the Heat take a high volume of threes, which and the Boston Celtics have to match it. They really do. So I think it's going to be a really good series. Again, I think both teams have the right pieces, have the right, scheme, and able to go to the finals and actually, have a chance at the championship. Where do I go here? Where do I go? I'm gonna go with the Heat in 7. I think that's gonna shock some people, but I'm gonna have the Heat in 7. A lot of people have the Celtics, being the favorites to win the NBA championship right now. But I just have a feeling that, this Heat team, when going up against a team like the Celtics, who I could say this for sure, I think that they have the talent advantage over Miami. But I really think that they could able just to, grind these games out, be able to just, slow the pace down really much, a lot. And, when it comes to the end of the game, I think that the Heat are able to, produce better offense and be able to execute with Jimmy Butler. I didn't even mention Tyler Hero in this series. I think he's going to be absolutely key. If you can especially give him that 20 points a game that they've been looking for, he could be the huge difference maker. If you have him, Bam, and Hero giving you like really good minutes, giving you great production. I think the Celtics are put under a lot of pressure, looking for another third option beside Tatum and Brown. And I think that he could just edge it out. Could just edge it out. Both these teams are great defensively. Again, it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised it could go either way, but I'm going to take the Heat in 7. I really do think. I think Jimmy Butler sees another opportunity to get his ring, and I think that he is going to take it. He's going to try and take it by any means necessary. Should be a really good series. I'm excited to see both these series unfold. Let me know down below what you guys think. Agree with my predictions, disagree. Leave your predictions down below. Final segment of the show. I did want to do this like something really fun with the NBA Draft Lottery happening tonight, because this is pretty crazy, because there is a lot of things that can be determined here. A lot of teams I wouldn't say are tanking, but a lot of teams could like really use that next like big time player, big time prospect to help accelerate their rebuild. And we've seen like in like years, like in, especially when the league changed this to the 14% for the top 3 picks and all that. It definitely like skews like the results a lot in terms of the draft lottery. Especially with last year, the Raptors moving into the top 4, that was key. Them getting Scottie Barnes the Rookie of the Year, I could see something like that happening. You got especially the top 3 teams in this draft lottery: the Houston Rockets, Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons. They have like 14% chances at the number overall pick, but again, we've seen that doesn't usually matter. A lot can change, and I'm gonna do a little simulation of what could happen tonight. Some keynotes for the draft lottery: the Lakers pick is going to New Orleans, which is absolutely great for them. I think that's going to be a really good piece. OKC has the Clipper pick, and yeah, that is the only really key ones in the draft lottery right now. But besides that, yeah, let's get right into it. Let me sim the lottery. I have a lottery simulator right here. Here is what could happen in tonight's draft lottery. Gonna be simulating, and wow, okay. 14th pick, they stayed the same. The Cleveland Cavaliers stay at number 14. The Clippers the Charlotte Hornets stay at number 13. Pretty makes sense. I think they have like less than they have like 1% chance of getting the number 1 pick. OKC stays at number 12. The New York Knicks stay at 11. Washington stays at 10. San Antonio stays at 9. The Kings drop down from 7 to 8. The Pacers drop down from 5 to 7. The Orlando Magic drop from 2 to 6, which would be absolutely horrendous for them. The Houston Rockets drop from 1 to 5. And man, this top 4 is crazy. Coming in number 4, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They get the top 4 pick. I think that could be really good, especially with that nice young core. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort. I think there's a lot of good things you can do with that team. Number 3, they stay there, the Detroit Pistons. I think that adding someone like a Chet, a Banchero, a Jabari Smith to a team with Cade Cunningham could be absolutely fantastic for them. So they're at number 3. And 2 teams move up significantly. One of them being the New Orleans Pelicans, moving up to number 2. You have Zion. You got Brandon Ingram. You have this young team who took the Phoenix Suns to 6 games, and now you're adding a top 2 overall pick. Oh, that could be good. That could be really good. I would love to see that for the Pelicans. And then the Portland Trailblazers moving up to number 1 after having a horrendous season, getting a number 1 pick to join up with Damian Lillard. Again, that could be something really, really interesting. So, yeah, that's the type of draft lottery I got. I like doing this type of stuff. I want to see how accurate this is going to be compared to today's draft lottery, because the Portland Trailblazers have a 9% chance, so it's actually not too much different than the top 4 picks. But yeah, let me know down below what you guys think. Tell me who your team is if they're in the draft lottery. Sending some good vibes. Hopefully your team gets the number 1 overall pick. And again, give me your thoughts on anything we talked about in the playoffs, and also in terms of the series predictions or the season grades. But I think this is where we're going to today's episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Also, hit the notification bell. And remember to follow TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for updates on the podcast and for other great content. I'm gonna be back later on this week to talk about the first few games of the conference finals, and hopefully we're gonna have a guest on to talk more about certain things going around the league, and hopefully we can give some more grades to the teams that I haven't discussed yet. I think which is the bottom 5 teams in the West. Hopefully we can get into that in the next episode. So yeah, just look out for some more content on the TV on basketball pages and on YouTube. Be on the lookout for that. Conference finals, man, extremely excited. Hopefully I can do some lives as well. Should be really, really fun. I want to thank you guys for all the support. I hope you all have a fantastic day. This is TV signing out. Take it easy, guys. Peace.